hit the Welcome, everybody. So glad that you're able to join us today on this blustery day. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Windows 10 and the accessibility features that are already built in for Vision. So I am not doing the all-included accessibility features in Windows 10. We are just doing the accessibility features for Vision. By the way, this PowerPoint will be shared for those individuals that want it. It should offer some assistance and guidance for you guys to be able to then move forward and try some of these on your own. I just want to thank all of the mentors out there, who have assisted us in the past and in the future. I just want to make sure that I thank you all, Molly and Amber and Miranda and many others. So thank you so much. All right, so we're going to get started. So what a lot of people know about the Windows Accessibility, or what some people may have heard of, is something called the Ease of Access Center. I'm just going to pause for a minute. I'm getting some feedback. Could we put everybody on mute? Would that be okay?
Got it, Gloria. It's going to mute you as well, so just watch out for that.
I'm ready. All right, did you do it? All right, much better. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Ease of Access Center. So in order to get to the Ease of Access Center, we simply press the Windows logo key and the letter U. For those of you that may not be familiar with the Windows logo key, the Windows logo key is almost always at the bottom left side of the keyboard. It's typically the second or third one in from the left. Most often it's the second one in. It presents itself as four little white boxes or four little black boxes, depending on the contrast of the keyboard that you have. So what you do is you press and hold that key, and then you tap the letter U. When you do that, you get the Ease of Access Center, which I'm going to show you in just a second. But here we have many options. So we can actually change the display, the text size in the display. So for those of you who are familiar with like the iOS devices and the settings, this is very, very similar to our accessibility settings. So we can change the size of the mouse pointer. We can change the size of the text pointer. We also have a built-in what we call mini app called Magnifier, and that allows us to increase the size of the print on the screen and works very much like Zoom does on the iOS devices for those people that are familiar with that. We can also change color filters. So for those individuals that benefit from inverting the colors or changing the color of the background and the letters, we can do that within Windows Accessibility. We have we can do high contrast, and there is a built-in screen reader called Narrator. And we're going to give you a little brief explanation about that in just a second. I just wanted to preview some of the things that we're going to go over. And now I actually want to show you where they are and what exactly they look like. So I'm going to be sharing my screen and kind of flipping back and forth. And at certain points, I'm going to take a break and we'll open it up for a little bit of discussion. This is a beefy, if you will, presentation. There is a lot to it. And always remember that we are here to support you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the display. So what the display does is you can make the text size bigger, so it enlarges the text within the operating system. So for those of you, I'm comparing the iOS device because many of you here have participated in many of our iOS workshops. So I'm basing that as you guys have an understanding of what some of these features are. So just kind of comparing them. So to make the text enlarged within the operating system, remember that sometimes the text bleeds off the screen, just like on the iOS device. The same thing is going to happen on a Windows computer. You can also make everything bigger, but it also depends on the size of your monitor. So let's look at that for a minute. So I'm just going to go to that screen. Okay. Now, when we press the Windows and the U, okay, this is what we are brought to. Okay, so these are the display settings within the computer. Now, there is no apply button or save button. Once you've made these changes, the changes are made within the operating system. The important thing, I think, for all of us is to remember what we started with, just in case we make an error, things are too big, we can always go back and put them where we started first. So what you're seeing today is the display sizes that I use on my computer. So these are, so we can make the text bigger. I'm going to change this on the display, and you can see up on, for those of you that can, where it says make it bigger, the sample text size is actually growing in while I'm moving the slider with my mouse. I'm going to put it back to where I had it. I had it around 127 thereabouts. So I'm going to put it back there. This particular option does have an apply or a save. And I believe that this is the only one within all of these features. Okay. So that makes the text bigger. What makes everything bigger really determines the monitor that you're using. Okay. So right now I have it set at 150%. When I change, so it's for most individuals, it's probably at 100%. 125% is kind of mid-range. 150 is actually a step up. And once you get to 175, sometimes you lose things on the monitor. This is something that you guys just have to play with to see what works best, both for you and the equipment that you have. It's okay to play with this as long as you remember the Windows U will bring you back so that you can make these changes. So we have some other options here about changing the size of the app and the text. If you use two displays, that gets really fancy. For those of you that use two displays, maybe we should have a private conversation. We're going to talk about this in a minute, but you can change the size and color of your cursor and mouse pointer. I'll show you that in just a second. For those individuals that need to make things brighter, we have the option to do that here. We can change the brightness automatically, or we can use what's called a night light. For those of you that are familiar with dark mode on the iOS device, this is similar to that. We can also, for those of you that may or may not understand some of these things, I thought we would review them. So you can personalize Windows to show animations. So for those people who don't know what animations are, it simply means that this information is kind of sliding across the screen, and it makes a funny visual presentation. So they call it an animation. Show transparency. This, for those individuals with vision impairment, oftentimes this is confusing to us because what happens is you can almost see a window underneath another window. I guess the best explanation I can offer here is for anybody who's read a newspaper before, you know how sometimes it's done, well, it's always usually done on recycled paper. And what happens is the text bleeds through from what's on the other side. I guess that's my best explanation about transparency is you can almost, it's like reading a newspaper, you can almost see what's on the other side. The next option is automatically hide scroll bars in Windows. Oftentimes these confuse people. So you have the option of turning them on or turning them off. I have kept all of these options on because they seem to work for me. The last option is something big that I want to discuss, and it's called Show Desktop Background Image. Okay. For many of us, an image in the background will confuse whatever it is that's placed on top of it. So for instance, many of us use our desktop to put shortcuts so that we can get to information quickly and more efficiently. If we put an image on our desktop, then that's going to distort the information that we're looking for. So oftentimes I encourage people to use a plain colored desktop so that the information that's presented on it will pop a little bit better for you and you'll be able to see it a little better and a little clearer. So oftentimes for those of you that have already an iOS device, that's probably the first thing that we've done is change the background color. For myself, I like the background color to be black. For me, that makes because remember the text is white, so it makes all the images pop for me. Um, but you can also use other colors for those individuals with varying vision impairments. This would be the area where you could change that. Here's another thing to remember. In Windows, there's usually at least 3 ways of doing one thing. So this is one way, and probably pretty easy for those of you that know this now, this is where you can personalize your background of your desktop, and you can change other colors within your computer. Oftentimes, this is very helpful. It helps us follow windows or menus, excuse me. All right, I think we'd like to take a minute now and stop and ask some questions.
If you need to unmute and you're on a telephone handset, you can hit *6.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody have any questions so far? Nope, good.
We got them.
All right. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint for a minute. There we go.
Actually, Gloria,
Yes.
yes, hi. So you mentioned that most of these changes, you don't have to press apply to save it. Does that mean once you set it and you close down and the next day, whatever, it's going to be where you left it?
That's correct.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I was just going back to the slides for a second. So we've talked a little bit about the display so far. Now, this is a really big help for many of us. I know it was for me, and that is to be able to change the size and the color of the mouse pointer. So right now I have the PowerPoint up and it says mouse pointer, changing the size and the color. You can change the size by moving the slider. I will demonstrate that in a minute. And you can change the color. One of the things that I want to point out to you is that for those of you that have your background black, if your mouse is black, that's not going to be helpful. So there's something to take into consideration. I'm going to show you a little hint for that. So let me just go back to that. Okay. So now we press the Windows U and I came up with display. Well, the next option is mouse pointer. So if I click on the left side of my screen for mouse pointer, I get all the options for mouse pointer. As I just mentioned a few minutes ago, we can use this slider to change the size. As I move the size up, the mouse pointer gets bigger. So some of you can see the mouse pointer a little bit bigger here, mine over it. During the screen share, I noticed that some of these features don't show up as well as they would if you were to try them on your own computer. This is something to take into consideration. Remember, I talked earlier about the mouse pointer. So if it's white and you have all white background, it's going to be difficult for you to identify that mouse. If you have it black and your background is black, again, same issue. I like this option here. It inverts. So the mouse automatically recognizes whether it's over a black or over white, and then inverts itself so that it becomes more apparent or visible to you. So that's something to think about. If I wanted to change the color, I could customize it here. And as you can see, I like it kind of a yellowish green because it pops for me, and that's the color that I've chosen for my mouse pointer. If you like any other colors, you have some choices here, or you can actually create your own custom color for your mouse. The last thing is to show visual feedback around the mouse pointer. Now mine is on. What this does is, you notice as I move my mouse up towards the words pick a custom color, the whole area turns gray. That's giving me an indication that I'm close to the target. or the area that needs to be targeted. And that's what that's what show visual feedback around the touch points. That's what it means. So as I move up to the top of the screen to where the minimize, maximize, and close buttons are, you notice as soon as I get there, everything turns gray to let me know that I'm close to the target. So this is very, very helpful for many individuals. The last item is you can make the visual feedback for touch points darker and larger. Okay. For me, these are fine, and that way they do not disrupt the rest of the information that I'm seeing. So in other words, I can still distinguish that this is a little underline up in the top corner versus a square. But those, if you want to make that bigger or change it to make it darker, you could try that on your own. All right. Do we need to pause for questions? Nothing? Okay, I'll keep going.
Not seeing it change up to gray
Yes,
when you.
I have one question.
Okay,
Does this all,
Oh, we lost your audio. Sorry.
it's Nancy again.
Sure.
Does this work the same? What?
we keep losing you, Nancy. I'm sorry.
I had a question. Does this work on touch screens the same way?
Yes, it does. But the touchscreen will actually give you some additional features.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
No.
I can.
I want, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Gloria,
Joanne.
I'm not,
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
not
Joanne.
seeing. I'm not seeing the background change as you're moving your mouse. I can't even see your mouse isn't even moving right now. Your pointer.
Okay, right now it is, my mouse is pointed over where it says pick a custom pointer color, and it is gray. Can you see that, Joanne?
Yeah, that's not showing up on mine. It's still showing white with a white background.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, because I'm using two different methods of accessing this, so I can actually see what's happening. So I'm sorry that that's not working for you, Joanne.
That's okay. I'm wondering, a lot of this looks like what I have on my Zoom text.
It is very similar. ZoomText does have a lot of similar functions and features, but these are the features that are built right into Windows.
Okay, now I'm kicking myself that I spent so much on Zoom text.
We can talk.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to move from mouse pointer to text pointer. Okay. And so the text pointer is, you know, that little blinking, they call it an I-beam, when you're in a Microsoft Word document or when you're typing a URL. That's what the text cursor is. So in the sample that you see on the screen, you can turn the text indicator on. Mine are purple. That was the color that I chose to help me identify it. The reason for this text cursor indicator is really for people who do a lot of typing. For those people that write a lot, you're reviewing a lot of Microsoft Word documents. Oftentimes when you're doing editing, it's very, very difficult to find your text cursor. So using this particular feature helps it pop for us. So it just gives us these two little indicators to let us know that that's where the text cursor is. For myself, I find it very helpful because when I'm in a Microsoft Word document, I constantly scan the document looking for the text cursor. I can never find it. So this is just a nice little indicator. So you can also change its appearance or its thickness. Right now it's kind of thin, but on the bottom here, I can actually change how thick it appears. When you change the thickness, what you'll notice is it could potentially hide some of your letters. So just be cautious and aware that if you do change the thickness of it, it could hide some of your text as well. Again, these are things that you kind of play with to see if they work for you or not. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, I'll keep chugging along.
Video container.
So instead of going back to my PowerPoint, I want to tell you about Magnifier right now. Magnifier is Microsoft Windows screen magnification program. So it's very much like Zoom is on the iOS devices. And it's very easy to activate. So for any of you that need magnifier, you simply press the Windows key and the plus key. And that's the key that's to the left of the backspace. It's the plus and equals key. When you press those in conjunction, it activates magnifier. So what magnifier does,
Again?
yes, it's Windows and the plus key. That's what turns it on. And its job is to increase the size of the text on the screen. So it's a screen magnification program. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So again, like I said, I am going to be sharing the PowerPoint, which has all these little shortcuts in it for you, so that you'll have a supporting document. So here, if I turn magnifier on, the user interface is very simplistic. Unfortunately, let's see if I can get it to show on my screen. Hold on. New share. See if I can find it. There it is. Okay, good. Okay. There. So this is what magnifier looks like on the screen. Okay. So we have the ability to increase or decrease the size of the magnification. Okay. Right now it's at 100%. This is my absolute favorite. Nancy, this one's for you and some of your clients, is you can actually now make the mouse pointer talk. So for those of you kind of like me, who we have significant vision impairment and my eyes are just not that reliable anymore, what I can do is I can make the mouse pointer speak to me whatever words are underneath of it. So this works really nice in an Excel document. If you're trying to read financials in the bank, making sure that you get the right numbers, all this good fun stuff. So that's what this play pause button does. Not only will it read the text underneath your mouse pointer, but it'll also read the text that you highlight. So if you wanted to read portraits of an internet page, it'll actually speak it for you. Just remember that the settings are here underneath the little sprocket. There are not many settings. You can just change the voice and the speed at which it speaks. Okay. This particular item here, it says you can read from here, and it actually gives you the information. You can press the Control-Alt and the left arrow. What I suggest is for those of you that think you may benefit from this is just kind of play with it. It's one of those tools that it has to meet your needs, so you need to kind of fiddle with it a little bit. Okay. So just so that you know, to activate magnifier, it's Windows and the plus sign. If you press Windows and plus again, it'll actually increase the size of magnification. And that's what I did, and you guys can't see it now on the screen because it got so big. So if I continue hit Windows plus, Windows plus, Windows plus, it'll increase my magnification 100%, 200%, and so forth. Windows minus will bring it back down again. So oftentimes I leave magnifier running in the background and I just do a Windows plus whenever I need to see something quick and a Windows minus to bring it back down so that I could see things in a traditional view. So those are just a couple of hints. You can actually have magnifier turn on when your computer turns on, for those of you that may have difficulty signing into your computer. So let me go back to, there we go. Okay. So here are the options where you can have magnifier start at sign in. Or even before sign in. This is typically for people who are using computers over a network. They usually like to have this because they need sign in information. You should always have smooth edges of images and text checked. That keeps all the images nice, not pixelized. And we have enough problems with our vision. We don't want pictures to look any ickier. We can also invert the colors here, so I can make it look black background with white letters. There's also a keyboard shortcut to do that. This is something that's really helpful. So changing the magnifier view right here. So you can change it. You can have full screen or lens. What the lens does is it makes your mouse pointer like a magnifying glass. So it makes a square rectangle around your mouse that is now magnified. So anywhere you move your mouse, the information underneath it will be magnified, but the rest of the screen will all be standard size print. Question?
Yeah, how did you get to this magnifier to have it going?
Okay. So on the, if you look on the left-hand side, do you see display, mouse pointer? Did you do the Windows U?
Participants chat share
No,
screen
I'm-
record reaction.
Okay, try Windows U.
Wait a minute.
Take your time, Joanne. It's all good.
Join audio, start video.
No, I can't do it on the screen because I've got the Zoom on now. I can't find it.
Okay. I'd be happy to take you through this later if you don't
All
mind.
right.
Okay. All right. So let me go back to the magnifier views. So we talked about the lens. Full screen is just when it's typical, you know, your entire screen is magnified. I don't know many people that use what's called docked. What that does is it keeps the magnified view either at the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen so that you could see the rest of the image traditional size. I'm sure that there are applications for that. I just haven't found any. So then as I move down below, these are the settings for the magnifier. You should have it follow the mouse pointer. You should have it follow the keyboard focus. It should follow the text cursor. And if you use narrator, it should follow the narrator cursor. Narrator, we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. The next option is to keep the mouse pointer. So what we want to do is we really want to keep, everybody has a different opinion on this. You can keep the mouse pointer within the edges of the screen, which is the way I like to use it. Or you could keep the mouse pointer in the center of the screen. Now you would say, why you want to do that? For those individuals that need a lot of magnification, okay? Oftentimes it's hard to figure out where we are on the screen. So if we have the mouse pointer centered in the screen all the time, then we always know where to look for it, okay? And it kind of gives us a frame of reference. The next option is keep the text cursor. What I like to do is I like to keep it centered on the screen so that I always know where to look for it to find it. So I always look in the center of the screen and I can find the text cursor. Again, these are options when magnifier is enabled. So when you have magnification happening, these are things to offer you assistance.
Gloria, it's Mike.
Yes, Mike.
How you doing?
Good.
Couple of just basic questions. So
Mhm.
if you go in and you change these settings on your computer and say someone else, like my wife uses the computer, can she be set up as a different user, or is once I do these changes, she's kind of locked in?
Nope, you're exactly right. What we would do is we would set up a user for you and a user for her so that when you turn on your computer, you sign in to Mike and it gives you all these settings. She signs into whatever hers is and she gets the settings she wants.
Okay, and the next basic question is, is this is this in lieu of Zoom text? Because I haven't used any of the features of Window as we're discussing here. I've used typically Zoom text. So is it either or? You know, I heard the comment a minute ago that, you know, Zoom text was enabled on the computer and they couldn't access these settings.
Yep. So what's happening is she's got a couple of different things running, so she can't access them. The question is it in lieu of Zoom text? Here's the thing is Microsoft is trying to compete with that, of course. It does have a few of the features of Zoom text, but I mean, it's enough to kind of get somebody going. I still have to tell you, there's still things about Zoom text that I still need to go for.
What do
So-
you use? What do you prefer?
Well, here's the thing is, what's nice is if I go to any place like a library or anything, I know I automatically have access to magnifier. So that's what I like about it. But when I'm at work, I usually use Zoom text.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Oh, can I ask one last question?
That please.
On these Windows functions, the one issue with Zoom text I find is if I'm in a website and I do like an overlay page, I do a drop down or something on a bank and, you know, I'm looking at whatever, you know, loan
Mhm.
rates or CD rates or something. Zoom text typically doesn't, it won't read it to me aloud. I have to magnify to read it. I don't know if that's something I'm doing wrong with Zoom text or, you know, just a sort of shortcoming in Zoom text.
You should you should have the ability to read that information on the screen.
Yeah, a lot of times what happens is I'll put the cursor there and,
Mhm.
you know, it just will stop. It won't read it, you know, then I'll go back and it'll read it. Or I go to a link and it only reads it after I click the link, not while I'm hovering to find the right link.
It sounds like there's some configuration issues there
Okay,
because it should, as soon as you hover over it, like if it's a link, it should just read it to you.
okay, all right, different. We'll talk on a
And
offline.
hover, or do you have it set on instant?
There you go.
I do
Excellent.
set it, it is on instant, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Might be because you had to set it on hover, because I always have mine on instant, sometimes it's not reading stuff, it's like, "Wah."
Okay.
So did you
Yeah.
change it to hover and it does a better job?
I haven't gotten brave enough to use hover yet, my default is just to go to instant.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. So the last part of magnifier is actually, thanks for the segue, Mike, was reading. So remember that the play pause button, or what looks like the play pause button on the magnifier, will actually allow you to read. But there's also what we call a modifier key to make that happen instead of you having to click on that button. And that's what they're showing here, Control plus Alt. So instead, if you couldn't find or couldn't quickly find the play pause button on the magnifier user interface, you could simply hit the Control and Alt. And most of the times, for efficiency purposes, that's exactly what we want to do. I hate to be a disappointment to you guys, but just to let you know that by using the mouse, we are actually less efficient. The mouse is really for individuals that have good vision. And to be quite honest with you, they're slower than you can be is if you learn these keyboard shortcuts. So doing things like Windows plus, Windows minus. Go ahead, you got something?
How about the Zoom text with reader programs?
What do you mean?
Isn't there something, Zoom text program that reads more?
Yeah, Zoom
Yes.
text. Yep, Zoom text
Okay.
will read the information. But the way magnifier works is it'll also read you the information that you highlight.
Okay.
So they both have similar features. So below here are some of the reading features that you could actually try. So you could start and pause reading by hitting the Control, Alt, and Enter instead of you actually going to this button.
Do you
Going to
have Gloria, this is Mike. Do you have a
Mhm.
cheat sheet on all these, you know,
Yeah.
options that, you know, in lieu of the mouse?
Yes.
Because the Zoom text has that, but, you know, to be honest with you, not only has my sight gone, but my memory goes too. So I'm not gonna remember all those, you know.
No, yeah.
That's okay. So I switched the screen. So in the PowerPoint that I'm going to be sharing with everybody, the shortcut keys that I've been sharing is in the PowerPoint. So you'll have all of these shortcut keys.
And
Okay.
Gloria, if I may
Please.
offer, I can also just pull all the shortcut keys and make a chart if that's easier than reading the whole PowerPoint.
Yeah, you guys want a cheat sheet?
Yeah, I can make
Yeah,
a cheat
yeah,
sheet too.
yeah, for sure.
All right. Awesome. Okay.
All right, I'll do that afterwards and then I'll send it out.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So we talked a little bit about colors, high contrast. So you can filter colors, you can change your color palettes. I just caution you, remember what you had before so that you can go back to it, because sometimes when you change the colors, it may not be exactly what you were hoping for. So just kind of be mindful of that. All right. the last thing that I wanted to talk to everybody about was Narrator. And I will have to tell you, it's really not my favorite. But Narrator is a screen reader for Windows 10. It's Microsoft Windows version of their screen reader. And what its job is just remember, like VoiceOver, for those of you who've been hearing that so much. Narrator is similar to VoiceOver in that it reads aloud the text on your screen, and it lets you use your computer without a mouse so that you can complete common tasks. It's typically used by people who are blind, have low vision, or have dyslexia. Those are typically the people that benefit from it. I will tell you this, if you can remember the key command to turn it off, you'll be a hero in many public settings. So for those of you that need a screen reader, Narrator is available. It's the Windows logo key, the Control and Enter, and that gets it all started. I also shared with you guys, there's an older command. So for those of you that have older computers, there is an older command. The best way to use Narrator is with keyboard shortcuts, whereas VoiceOver, we use gestures. With iOS devices, we don't typically have keyboards, so we use gestures. With a Windows computer, we usually have a keyboard, so we need to use keyboard shortcuts. I'm not going to turn on Narrator unless those of you really want to see it. Like I said, you'll be a hero if you can remember the key to shut it off, because I've had many people ask me that because they turn it on and then forget how to turn it off.
Bird, do you want me to jump in here?
Please.
So Narrator is so for those of you who are familiar with JAWS for Windows is Freedom Scientific's version of a screen reader, and it's the one of the most commonly used screen readers that Windows users use. Narrator is similar to JAWS in the sense that a lot of the Windows commands that you would use, you can also use with Narrator to get around the screen. For example, Alt-Tab to move between windows will work the same way. Windows D will work, but that's only because those are specific to, those are commands that work specifically through Windows and they're not JAWS specific commands. The commands that you would use for Narrator to get similar information that you would get with JAWS is different. They have different keyboard commands for things. For example, to read line by line, you have to turn something it's called like line mode or something. And then you would press the Narrator key, which is insert, and then left or right arrow instead of, up and down arrow, which is what we're used to. So there are a lot of different keyboard commands that Narrator uses. But the thing about Narrator is if you are stuck in a pickle and you have a computer with you that doesn't have a screen reader, Narrator will work in a pinch to get you where you need to go to download either NVDA or even to just get to a basic website, to open a document, that kind of stuff. Like Gloria said earlier, if you need to go to a library, you don't have a screen reader there, Narrator will do a good chunk of what you need it to do. It's not as quite where something like JAWS is yet, but it will function for you. And I would definitely recommend reading the documentation for it before you really try to use it heavily. If you go to Windows U, to the Ease of Access Center, and arrow down to Narrator, you can tab through and change a lot of different settings there. That's kind of where the main hub is for the settings for Narrator. So you can change like a lot of the verbosity, the voice that it uses, the level of detail that it gives you as it's narrating, that kind of stuff. So if you want to look at those settings and see what Narrator is about, you can do that. And that's also where you can access the user documentation for it. So how to use Narrator. There's like a link that says read the full documentation online, and you can go in there and see what information there is for Narrator. It's different, but it's something that I think we're lucky to have, especially if you run into a computer that doesn't have a screen reader. It's a decent alternative. I actually was able to fully set up a brand new Windows computer only with Narrator, like just from the startup window, before the computer was fully like it just came right out of the box. I turned on Narrator, and then I was actually able to sign into Windows, create a Windows account and all that kind of stuff just with narrator because I didn't have the chance to install any other screen readers before I, took it out of the box. So it's usable. It's there and it's usable for you if you ever need it.
Hey, Gloria,
Yes.
question. I came in a little bit late.
Mhm.
So basically, my functionality on the computer is if I turn the computer on and look at the home screen, I can't really see anything. So all I really do as soon as I turn it on is, double tap on Zoom text and it comes up and, I'm good to go using Zoom text. If I want to set these features up and set them up as I'm the user of them and then do my wife Jackie as another user. What's the first step I do on a screen I really can't see to get to, these window settings?
You can use magnifier or Zoom text to create some of these things. So first
So
thing
I
that you,
can open Zoom text and then go in and set all these things up.
yep, make sure you
Okay.
create a new user first. So
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, create the new user first, and then start making all the changes.
And then what's the first step to go? Where do I go to find these settings? I missed that part of this program.
Windows and the letter U. That's
Where's
so the Windows key. The Windows key is on the bottom left-hand side of your keyboard, and it's typically the second one in going from left to right. And it's usually the second one. It presents itself. If you have a black keyboard, it presents itself with 4 little white squares.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That
Jesus,
key.
I never, even when I had sight, I didn't know what that was.
That's like a magic key. It does a lot of cool stuff. So
Oh,
when you press that and the letter U, you're going to see the screen that I'm looking at.
okay. Is that on the cheat sheet? The
Oh,
first
yeah.
thing I got to do?
Very
Okay.
first thing. Yep.
Wow. You
Awesome.
should do a seminar just on that little key.
I know. Yeah, there's a lot to it, actually. When Mary Abby makes the cheat sheet, you're going to see that that's the key to get to all of these things. They
Oh,
use
you
the
guys are my hero. I mean, my God, Mary Abby, your ability to set up a brand new computer just amazes me, Anyways, God bless
Do
you.
my best. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Got to find ways to do all types of things, and there's always a way somewhere. So.
Well, I used to say to my kids, you get that new TV and then you get the remote. And then one day we got a new TV and you had to slide this thing down and there must have been, 30 buttons there. And I said, hey, you're on your own, guys. So I guess it's all a generational thing. It's kind of what you grow up with. So
Right.
God bless
Yeah,
you.
good point. Good point. Yep. So like I said, today was pretty beefy, and I don't expect you guys to just walk away and know it all. But what I'm hoping is that with some support from our presentation today, you'll be able to have some of the methods so that you can try a few of these things to help you out. Whether you have Zoom text or not, these can help you out. What I'm telling, if you do have Zoom text, I would strongly urge that you shut it off before you try magnifier, because the two running at the same time will cause you some havoc.
That goes the same for JAWS or NVDA and narrator. So if you're running JAWS or NVDA, and if anyone has questions about what those two things are, if you're running JAWS or NVDA and you need narrator for whatever reason, turn off JAWS or NVDA first and then just hit the shortcut key for narrator. They do not play very well together. You can get around with them together, but it's not ideal and it's very confusing. So turn one of them off before you try to play with the other one.
Now, does the narrator function on Windows, does that read web pages or just,
Yes.
Word doc? It does?
Yes, you can navigate web pages with narrator as well.
And do you feel it's as good as Zoom text?
Gloria, that's a
I
question for you.
I like Zoom text better.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of narrator.
Is it just because you're used to it, or did Windows come out with this stuff after you and I, Gloria, were users of Zoom text? You think?
Oh, it's brand new. It's pretty new, I think. Narrator, they only started to become as enhanced as it is, I think, only a year or two ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was pretty primitive before that.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because when I got my computer 4 years ago, I remember I was working with the guy who set it up, and he wasn't vision impaired, but I said, can we magnify stuff? And he gave me big fonts and all that stuff, but he did what he thought he could do. So you're right, it must be fairly new because this computer is only, I think, 4 years old.
mhm.
Anyways,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, with Windows 10 is where a lot of these features come. If you have an older computer, you may not see some of these options.
Yeah, it's a Windows 10, but well, I'll look at it. I mean, it's worth me checking it out, and that's good. That's good. So, would you guys advise, for example, if you have Zoom text, Gloria, I know you're going to stay with Zoom text, but going in and let's say setting up, some of these similar features using Windows as a backup and then setting me up as a separate user to my wife. So if for whatever reason, I don't know, Zoom text crashes on me or something, I've always got this as a backup. Does that make sense? Or
It sure does, and that's a lot of people. That's exactly what they'll do, is
Okay.
they'll use the magnifier as a backup, and oftentimes, like I said, we can evaluate people on magnifier to see if they would be a good candidate for Zoom text. But there are some people that just need the basic stuff, and magnifier just gives it to them, and they don't need to go out and spend all the money on Zoom text.
yeah, no, you're right, because it's not cheap. You're right.
Right.
And I just wanted to let people know, I know we're talking about the native Windows options. And so we haven't really gone into the screen readers, and we talked a little bit about Zoom text. But I just wanted to let people know that there is JAWS for Windows, which is made by Freedom Scientific. That's the very expensive screen reader that we use if you're completely blind, or even if you just want like a little bit of a backup in terms of the screen being read aloud to you. But there's also something called NVDA, Non-Visual Desktop Access is what it stands for. And it's a completely free open source screen reader, and it's very comparable to JAWS. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that's an option. I know some people say, you know what, I would love a screen reader, but it's so expensive. And so NVDA is a great free option for those who want to try out a screen reader because it is very, very similar to JAWS.
Mary
gives
Abby,
you
is
the
it
same
as simple
functionality.
as do I just go somewhere and download it and it's
Yes.
free?
Yes,
Okay.
it does work best with keyboard commands, Mike. But you can it actually does read. So the special thing about NVDA is it does have an option for it to read things that your mouse hovers over as well. So some people like that about NVDA. But yes, it's open source, it's free. You can download it from a website and set it up pretty easily.
And Mary Abby, it reads everything, documents, emails, Word.
Everything. Well, it's meant to be way more comprehensive than just the Zoom text reading because it's meant to be a full screen reader. So if you're interested, Mike, or anyone in learning how to navigate and read with NVDA or JAWS, just let me know and I can help you out with that.
Does it come with a tutorial when you download it, or?
It does have documentation that you have to read online, but there's no direct tutorial. I don't think. I'd have to look.
Okay, all right.
I
Okay,
can
I
send
got
you
a
a
few
link
steps
afterwards.
to go before I get there, but it sounds like something that would be a nice backup.
Yeah, it's great. It's really wonderful. I'll send you the link to it, Mike, and you can check it out. Check the website out. Okay.
Oh, yep, thank you.
Yeah, no
I have
problem.
a question.
Hi guys, this is, oh, oops.
I have a question. Is NVDA applicable to a Mac program?
No.
So Mac uses VoiceOver.
Yeah. Okay.
That's their screen reader, and that you cannot have a third party with Mac. There's no third party screen reader for Mac.
Okay.
Molly.
Yeah, hi guys, it's Molly. I just wanted to add, I know there's probably some people on here who are proficient smartphone users, but they're, maybe just getting into using the computer or not as comfortable with it using assistive technologies. So I just wanted to point out that if any of you have used the app Be My Eyes, I know some of you have. If you don't know, it's an app on your smartphone that's totally free. It connects you to, normally it connects you to a sighted volunteer. So you can say, hey, I think I dropped my earbuds on the ground, but I can't find them. Let me point the camera around and you can kind of give me instructions in order to get to where they are. But Be My Eyes also has some special channels wherein you can get help from an expert from a particular company or organization or whatever. And one of those is Microsoft specific. So if you are, trying to do any of these things that Gloria and Mary Abby have just gone over, and, you're having any difficulty, whether it be, accessibility problem, like something is not reading the screen, or, you're just trying to get it set up and you kind of need assistance right then, you can actually open Be My Eyes, tap on the specific Microsoft button, and it's actually going to connect you, not to a random volunteer, but to somebody who actually works for Microsoft, and who can, who should know about all of these accessibility features and who can, help you in whatever situation. Like obviously, normally you could call Gloria and Mary Abby, but if it's, on a weekend, or I believe that support is 24 hours. So,
Molly,
if it's,
yeah, and you're completely correct. And I've actually used their service, and they are very knowledgeable about how to navigate Windows with a screen reader. So
oh, good.
they're
'cause I
very
knew it
familiar with all the,
existed, but
yes, they're very familiar with all
hadn't
the
used
keyboard
it.
commands. So they can definitely, they're very knowledgeable there. I would definitely support like that using their service.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing that.
Awesome.
no worries.
So that's all I had for today. And like I said, we'd love to be able to assist you, Joanne. If you need any help afterwards, please feel free, give me a call. We'll schedule some help. So this was, this is just, now, oftentimes when we go out into the world, this is the way that we would need to access a computer anywhere else. So, if we were to go to the library or any other place, and as you know, most places now, everything's digital. So this is a way that you can go to another computer, press Windows U, make some of these modifications so that you could then use the computer. The second thing is, of course, for those of you that need a little bit more magnification and maybe don't want to spend the money on Zoom Text, this is another option for you. So it's also a really great evaluation tool for yourself, and it's also a tool that we use here at Insight. So I'm so happy that you guys joined us today. Just a little bit of background. I have been the Microsoft accessibility individual for the state of Rhode Island for now over 20 years. So I started when Microsoft appointed me several years ago while I was working at Tech Access, and I ran the Microsoft Accessibility Resource Center for several years. So the Windows accessibility is nothing new to me, and I'm glad that you guys allowed me to share it today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria.
You
Excellent.
guys, you're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Great.
Sorry, I might
Hey,
be going.
Gloria, it's Molly. Could I add one more thing real quick?
Oh,
So obviously, it's a weird time right now, but in normal times, SBVI, we have some computers at our office that have, JAWS and Zoom Text and NVDA on all of them. So if, you are in a position where you're like, I kind of want to try this out and see before I commit to getting anything like that on my computer, and same deal with all the built-in Windows features, we have all that on our computers. So it sounds like Tech Access does too, but if they're booked up, you can always call us over at SBVI and say, hey, can I get some, can I try it out on your computers? Because we definitely have those there for that purpose.
awesome.
Oh, very cool. I didn't know that. Thanks, Molly.
Yeah.
No worries.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Joanne, you call me if you need anything.
Okay, I might
Gloria.
be, because I'm not seeing my lovely face.